Joining us now, as always, on these Tuesdays, the president of the most discussed, oldest and boldest civil rights organization in America, Derrick Johnson, the president of the NAACP. Bring him up for me, Andrew. I can't do it. Derrick, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mark. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Getting ready for the convention soon.
It's coming up July 14th. Looking forward to it, and it gives us an opportunity to see and hear from our delegates across the country.
Indeed, indeed. So we had, I believe, another interesting decision in the Supreme Court on yesterday with regard to gerrymandering. I'm not sure if it really helps our cause, though.
Yeah. So there is a concern that the decisions that's coming down, not the individual decisions, but each decision, when you put them together, it is truly unraveling much of the protections we fought very hard for. Yesterday's decision on the redistricting is concerning and confusing at the same time. I'll be honest with you, I've heard some commentary about it, and is it good or bad is a question that people are saying is not what we expected, but the harm that's going to be done, I don't think people have really figured it out yet. So, but every time another decision comes down, it's like chipping away at a set of laws that has been put in place, and now we're looking at a new reality. The Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was a problem. The Voting Rights Act was in place. They chipped something away. And that's what I feel like this court is doing, chipping away the rights piece by piece.
There's, also color of change, and I think Reverend Barber have even pointed out the fact that with regards to North Carolina, where there's a push within North Carolina to discourage companies like Amazon, and I think there's one other big company that's thinking about coming to North Carolina, in discouraging them from doing business with North Carolina because North Carolina is threatening to bring forward another egregious voter ID law. So, it seems like everywhere we turn, there's some type of chipping away going on.
Hey, again, in a democracy, our currency is our vote.
Yeah.
And while others' currency could be millions and millions of dollars, well, our community is millions and millions of votes. And every time we don't maximize the use of our currency through the election process, it gives opportunity to line up an agenda that's projected to harm us in the future.
Yeah.
And the goal has been to minimize the ability of African Americans from voting or being able to vote at a level in which we could truly see over time the freedom we all desire to have.
Indeed.
It's not just North Carolina, it's Georgia, it's Alabama, it's Missouri, it's Ohio, all across the country. When we don't maximize our vote, we give the opposition an opportunity to minimize our ability to be free.
Well, for example, today, as a matter of fact, is primary day in several states, including New York and Maryland, as a matter of fact. And so, folks, this is an opportunity to exercise your right to vote, even today. What about the nomination of Thomas Farr. What's the latest on that? We're still encouraging people to contact their senators, correct?
Absolutely. Continue to contact your Senator on Thomas Farr and just judges in general. No, we thought his name was going to come up a few weeks ago, then last week. So at this juncture, we are in a holding pattern. Hopefully, there's impact being had in terms of the pushback that many of us have been doing because he is a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court decision yesterday in a redistricting case, and many other cases, he's one of the people behind bringing challenges to the ability of African Americans to have our vote.
Yeah.
And we must fight against him at all costs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Derrick Johnson with us, folks, president of the NAACP. Derrick, your reaction, there's a story of late about a woman calling the police on a child, pretty much because she said she was too loud selling water. I mean, we're still dealing with this. It seems like we're in this moment, and again, it may have been going on for a while, but we're just hearing about more and more about it because of social media. But it seems as if we're still in this place where it's just sort of a thing to call the police on black folk, no matter what we do.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out if anything happened to the woman in Oakland who called the police on the individuals who were simply going to have the cookout in the park.
Right.
And was doing nothing wrong, and then tried to fake that she was the victim. Each time we have incident and no one is held accountable,
right,
we can expect to have more incidents. And if people will call the police on individuals for nonsense and nothing happens, it shows two things. One, the state of mind of the individual, and they should be put on some type of list.
Huh.
But two, it shows that this country has yet to respect the rights of African Americans at the same level they respect the rights of other communities.
Yeah. And
that's problematic. No matter how you pull it together.
Yeah.
Because Mark, you or I can be having a call on our phones, and someone said we're too loud, and we may not be loud at all, but just because a person called, we could be questioned. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 866-99-SIRIUS. The convention coming up in San Antonio, Texas, is almost as if the court, well, maybe they didn't know we're having the convention in Texas, because it gives us an opportunity to go down to Texas and do some organizing and implement some activism. But what are some of the highlights people can look forward to from the convention, Derrick?
Yeah, the overarching theme of this convention is impeach, hate, vote, and that's everything will be built around the need of our community to exercise our right to vote, to get politically involved, to ensure that their voices are being heard from their respective communities. NAACP is a membership-based organization with 2,200 units across the country. Our effectiveness is what we do on our local level. Our national convention allow for our local leadership and members to hear and see and get an opportunity to engage so they can be re-energized. It's almost like a revival to go back and continue to work to make democracy work in those local communities and to ensure a quality of life that we all deserve as human citizens.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor, in the dissent on yesterday in the Texas case, wrote the following this from CNN. In a blistering dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by the liberals on the bench, said the court went, quote, out of its way to permit the state of Texas to use maps that the 3-judge district court unanimously found were adopted for the purpose of preserving the racial discrimination that tainted its previous maps. So that's important to understand. And then in the North Carolina case, the court wiped away a lower court opinion that had invalidated congressional maps in North Carolina as an unconstitutional partisan gerrymander. And it instructed the lower court to revisit the case in light of the Supreme Court's recent opinion on Wisconsin. Now the Wisconsin case, I don't remember exactly what the difference was between the Wisconsin case. Okay, so here it is. In the Wisconsin case, the court held the challengers did not have the legal right to bring the suit because they had failed to prove concrete and particularized injury that would demonstrate that the right to vote had been burdened. So they seem to be finding all of these legal loopholes to take us back in time, Derrick.
Again, chipping away is finding the nuances to justify the wrong. Mm-hmm. And it's chipping away. When you line all three decisions together and you put the nuances they found to say that the state had the right to discriminate, that's the new body of law. The individual cases are bad. The problem is when you put them all together, what does that mean to a district court judge or a three-judge panel or the circuit in future decisions? Mm-hmm. And how they will be able to point to nuances in three cases individually and put those nuances together. Yeah. And that's the chip away that I'm talking about. Justice Sotomayor is our present-day Thurgood Marshall. And more each year you can see the boldness, the clarity in her dissents and the strength of her leadership, because many people understand that what's going to impact the African American community is going to impact our democracy. And she's the justice on the court that's playing the role of that clear vote. Fortunately, today's dissent will be tomorrow's majority. The question is, how long will it be before we get to that tomorrow's majority opinion to stop what's taking place?
And if we don't get out to vote, that's what's going to delay that majority that Derrick's talking about, folks.
Continue to accelerate, because the most recent Supreme Court justices appointed to the court, they will be there 20 plus years. These are lifetime appointments.
Yeah,
that's the fear.
Lastly, Derrick, and I need to ask this carefully because I'm sure I'm going to presume this is something the NAACP has not had a chance to consider, and maybe you as president, even like me, have just kind of been going back and forth with it. But I want to throw this out to you and tell me if you can take this on, or again, even if it's something the NAACP may or may not deliberate. And maybe I've been doing this too long like you. So in the situation with the Red Hen restaurant, okay, you have an owner ask Sarah Huckabee to leave. Granted, the owner wasn't looking for publicity. Sarah Huckabee put that out on social media, but she did ask Sarah Huckabee to leave. Now, you I wonder if you would have been exactly like me, because in that situation, if it had been me and I were the restaurant owner, I would have, even though that might have been my inclination, I would have said, well, if I put Sarah Huckabee out because of her association with the Trump administration, others will wrongfully draw false equivalency and continue to use that to put other people out of restaurants for other reasons, like race or ethnicity, etc., or call the police at Starbucks or Waffle House and that type of thing. And that's the thing about that worries me. And am I wrong to think that way or be worried about that? Because that might not be the last time they see it. Just since that happened, you have right-wing people, including my opposite on the other channel, saying this means that we're about to have separate water fountains for Republicans against Democrats. What are your thoughts about that? If we start putting folk out of restaurants because of their association with Trump, are we setting ourselves up for a danger zone where a court like this crazy court could say, well, if you can put them folk out of restaurants, then people at bakers don't have to bake cakes for same sex couples. They just about ruled that. And if an establishment doesn't want African Americans in a establishment, they can put them out too. What are your thoughts on that? Or am I taking it too far?
You're not. You're not.
Okay.
To have a subjective test to deny service, like one's deeply held religious or moral belief, is a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
What's the irony that I'm looking at, this is the very argument that was being made in all of the court the court responses to the bathroom bills.
Mm-hmm.
Deeply held moral beliefs. And it's such a subjective test, you do open the door to discriminate or give justification to bad acts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I absolutely disagree with this current administration's position on separating children from their parents. Absolutely disagree with the lack of veracity, this outright lying that this president would do at any given moment. I absolutely disagree with the absolute disrespectful manner Sarah Huckabee displayed when she's conducting a press briefing aimed at particular correspondents who are simply asking questions, and how she would bulldoze through it, not answer the question, or just seek ways to not address, particularly April Ryan. And so I disagree with all of that. But we cannot have a standard of public accommodation where we base it on our disagreement with someone based on such a subjective approach, because it's a slippery slope. It opens up the door to create problems for any set of individuals,
right,
in a way in which we wouldn't want public accommodations to be afforded. So you're not off base. You're completely right. It is truly a slippery slope where it might score political points around how we emote our beliefs, but it does nothing to ensure equal protection under the law and equity and treatment.
Now, I want to distinguish. I find that different from if someone goes into a restaurant and patrons, other customers in that restaurant, protest. An owner may not be able to control that, but an owner can decide that I'm not going to serve a member of the administration, and then that to me is the slippery slope. Let me share this with you, dear, real quick, just to give you an example, just to crystallize this. This was Alex Marlowe yesterday. Bring my computer up. On yesterday, on his show on Breitbart Radio here on our opposite channel. Here's what he said about it, just to kind of give you all an idea.
The media is trying to make everyone seem like a Nazi. You cannot eat at a restaurant in the United States of America. Are we headed towards separate drinking fountains for conservatives? Is that the analogy? Are we going back to segregation, but this time based off of ideology instead of skin color? Do we have to return to this level of segregation? It reminds you of the darkest histories of America.
So you see, clearly we know there's no equivalency, Derrick, obviously, but you see this is the argument they're going to make. And this is, I can see Alito or Thomas making this very argument, and right now they kind of hold the swing.
Well, just recognize the purpose of that argument for that concept what they're doing. Not even about a court challenge. It's about becoming a victim.
Right.
That in order to maintain the position of being right around racial hatred and and extreme views anytime they feel as if they're being responded to. They have a defense mechanism that's been really effective of becoming the victim instantly.
Right.
Where I disagree with the act of the denial of service, I recognize the strategy of changing the narrative and becoming the victim,
Right.
which only further cement and consolidate their base.
Right. And honestly, Derrick, further, I don't know that wasn't the agenda all along. If two of my colleagues in administration had been protested 2 days in a row in a restaurant, why would I go to a restaurant and not expect the same unless I was looking to set up a victim scenario? And then,
Right.
Then we have to be careful not to play into it. But again, I will say this to the Red Hens owner's credit again, y'all. She didn't film it. She didn't promote it. She simply politely asked Sarah Huckabee to leave. It was Sarah that put it out there. Because that was the victim role they were trying to play. Folks, it's going to be hot in San Antonio, and I'm not talking about heat. I'm talking about all the things we're going to be discussing at the NAACP convention. So don't meet us there. Beat us there. Go to NAACP.org and get registered, make plans to attend as well. This will be the 109th annual convention. So, folks, be sure to go to NAACP.org. Also, text 40649 to NAACP and take the pledge to vote.
Next pledge, but listen, I'm in Arizona. I'm in Mountain Time, so I'm a little sluggish. I'm committed, but yeah.
You sound like you up, man. You good? You do your workout this morning?
It's 5 minutes to 5, so I'm on my way there now.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Derrick. Talk to you. All right.
Care.
Talk to you, brother. Okay, take care now. All right, Sirius XM Progress 127, Resistance Radio. Get ready for impeachment. This is MIP.